Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. I'm calling you from very frigid, or talking to you from very frigid Columbus, Ohio. So I'm in warm clothes. I just cannot get myself psyched up to be in anything other than sweats at this point in time. You're lucky I don't have my coat on because that's how cold it is here. All right, a few announcements as usual we'll start with. First thing is yesterday was the first day our new magazine Informed was available. Informed with a capital MED on the end. So anyhow, it covers cardiovascular disease and various treatments for it and what various institutions and government agencies have to say about how we should treat coronary artery disease. It's sort of like the Consumer Reports of health and medicine. I think you'll find it really, really educational. No clutter of advertising and things to create conflicts of interest, just hard-hitting medical journalism. All right, so if you want a copy of that magazine, it's free for the first few issues, so just send me an email at pampopper@msn.com. Next thing, I've been talking about this. People are really excited about Chef Dell's new upcoming personal chef certification course. Learn from the best guy in the country. Everybody loves his food. He knows how to do this. He knows how to make it make money. If you're a practitioner and you want to offer this service, you need to learn how to do it and do it right. That's coming up mid-March. And if you do the Food Over Medicine certification course with it, we have a great package deal for you. And I'm starting another mentoring class in February, or in March rather, very soon. And this is professional mentoring for people who either have a practice of some sort or are expanding their practice or changing their practice or starting a new practice. So anybody who's looking for direction in business and clinical skills, this is the place for you to be. So again, send me an email. I'd be happy to chat with you about it and see if it's something you should be doing. All right, first today I want to talk about a little bit of update. I covered a couple of weeks ago this experimental research facility in Nebraska that the USDA operates, and all of the horrific, egregious things that go on there. And I apparently wasn't the only one who was appalled. I was amazed at how many people commented on my Facebook page and sent emails, and apparently all the fuss has resulted in something actually beginning to happen to take care of it. A new bill has been introduced in Congress that will offer new protections to the animals at this facility. The basic premise of this law is to extend the Animal Welfare Act, which was passed in 1966, and it doesn't cover much, dogs and cats in research facilities, but it would expand protection, those same protections, to animals in agricultural research facilities like the one in Nebraska that I talked about. The bill has bipartisan support. That's a good sign. One Republican sponsor, one Democratic sponsor spoke with the New York Times and said, first of all, the impetus for them introducing this legislation was the Times article and the response of people writing to them and saying you have to do something about this. And they both said that the situation speaks to, quote, a level of cruelty to animals that is unacceptable. A lot of organizations are sponsoring the bill and supporting it, including the Humane Society of the United States and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Well, in a strange sort of way, even the USDA seems to understand there's no choice but to advocate for change in this matter. There's just no defending this situation. Tom Vilsack, Secretary of Agriculture, has already mandated new rules even before the law passes. Will pass. He's saying things have to be different. Catherine Witecki, the department's Undersecretary for Research, Education, and Economics, said, quote, we take this issue very seriously and are taking action to ensure animals are respected and treated humanely. So one thing I think is apparent is that when something is going on that is so egregious and people scream and holler, you can actually get something done about it. The other is that when something is going on that is so against the trend, the trend for consumers and retailers is toward animals that are raised more humanely. Increasingly, retailers of food products are demanding that be the case. We've even seen it from the fast food restaurants, and their restrictions aren't enough, but the point is that they're responding to public outcry. So we just can't let these cruel practices continue, and I think eventually they'll be eliminated. The Times article featured a quote from Temple Grandin, well-known animal welfare advocate, and the reason I'm talking about this is that she has an interesting filter to determine if what you're doing is okay or not. She says, use the wedding guest standard. Never heard this before. She said, bring your wedding guests in and show them the pigs with too many piglets and see what they would say. She says, one self-imposed test for people who work with farm animals would be, would I show what I'm doing to my wedding guests? Well, my gosh, that horrific mess that I described a couple of weeks ago, I don't think anybody'd want any type of guests to see it. So anyway, progress happening, and it probably, I'm almost certain, I haven't read the proposed legislation yet, I'm almost certain it probably doesn't go far enough or as far as it would if I were writing it, but it's a step in the right direction, and we see evidence that Congress will respond when people scream. So let's think about some other things we ought to scream about. That's one message from this. All right, I want to talk about alcohol today. I've been cautioning people about alcohol for years. Our diet doesn't call for complete abstention for most people, but we're really clear that it's a treat to be used on special occasions. So for me, it is like nails on the chalkboard when I hear doctors recommending red wine. David Perlmutter did it in his book, Grain Brain. Basically, the impression he gives is that if you're not drinking alcohol every day, you're not getting the full health benefits out of your diet. And these types of people, the types who don't look at the evidence, they'll cite studies showing that moderate drinkers are better off than former drinkers or non-drinkers. Well, people have a lot of reasons for stopping the consumption of alcohol. One is alcoholism, and the other is serious health conditions that don't allow them to take in anything that might be a hazard to their health. Well, a new study shows that my concerns were warranted and that the benefits of alcohol may not be as significant or as broad as previous studies may have indicated. And the researchers said that inappropriate selection of control groups and lack of adjustment for confounders contributed to the misunderstanding about the issue. They state that former drinkers have poorer health and are more likely to be depressed and have increased mortality than never drinkers. So in this particular study, the data were drawn from large population surveys of English people. Data on drinkers included the type and the strength of the alcohol consumed, how much in general, how much weekly, divided into 5 categories of consumption, and then they had a couple of additional categories that included those who drank but had not had any alcohol for a year, and occasional drinkers who only drank 1 to 2 drinks per month. The data showed that when former drinkers were not part of the referent group, the protective effect of drinking alcohol was much lower, and it was a result of much lower intake than other studies have shown was only apparent in certain age groups. There were no protective effects for older men and younger women in any use category, and the protective effect for older women was limited to those who drank 2 times per month or less. Now, this is a far cry from the daily wine intake that David Perlmutter is recommending. Not much else in his book is right either, so it isn't like he got everything right and this wrong. He got everything wrong, and this is just an example of one of those things. An accompanying editorial emphasized the issue of alcohol in health and how much it's been confused because of the influence of the alcohol industry, which has a really active lobby that successfully influenced public health policy and recommendations about alcohol intake. He advised that people should remember that if something seems too good to be true, it usually is. In other words, some doctor telling you, you know what, it's great to drink alcohol every day. Sounds good, probably not the right thing. He says that doctors should stop promoting alcohol for its benefits for cardiovascular health and reduced mortality, and and here's a flash, the alcohol industry is not the best source of health advice, you think? He says companies marketing alcoholic beverages should remove health claims from their advertising and promotional materials. I agree with all this, and again, I want to emphasize, I don't think everybody has to completely abstain from alcohol, but it's sort of like cookies and brownies and candy and other things that we enjoy on special occasions. You know, the protective effect, remember, 1 to 2 drinks a month, not a day, all right? So anyway, hopefully that clarifies the issue. Have a great day. As usual, pass this on to anybody you think should be watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.